Welcome, welcome. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I think I got it right. Thanks. Waiting for people to come in. JT better than ever. Welcome to my channel. The darkness awakens. Let's get them likes and them views up on my live streams and my videos on my channel. Hit the bell. Hit the bell when I come with the powerful live stream and video. Before I continue, I got a goodie for y'all. I had the one I did it before. I had to scratch that out. Whatever that I do that, so I'm gonna do it again. See, it's gonna come out powerful, and this is a great one. But before we start, if y'all want to get in contact with me, I'm gonna give y'all the resources. I'm still working on to put it in everything, but I'm gonna speak on it right now until I get it straight. All right. If y'all want to get in contact with me, go to my Facebook page, Jerry Thomas. My Facebook page, Jerry Thomas. Also, I have my own Facebook group, all in caps, JTMVP, Thinking for Ourselves. Also, I had a Twitter account, all in caps again, at JTBlackman44. Then last, my Instagram account, lower caps, JT Blackstar. And also, I want you to go AnsonToys.com. We on Facebook, we on Twitter, we on YouTube. I said Facebook. We are all on social media. It's AnsonToys.com. So I got a good one for y'all. Let me check the chat. Then come back up. It's all right. Waiting for some more people to come in. Let me hit this first. No. Let me hit that back. I'm sorry, family. Let me hit that back. What's good? Yeah. Welcome, my brother. Let me hit this. Okay. We good money right there. Welcome. My brother Sheep Stay Sleep. He did a powerful one. I want y'all to check it out. And let me hit this back. Let me hit this. Let me get this. Let me get this back. Yeah. But go to AnsonToys.com. We got some good stuff to to impact, the ladies, the man, the man, get some stuff, make lady happy. All right, get some stuff, make a lady happy. But I got a good one, family. This is another great woman, another great black woman. She made an impact, just as Errol Fitzgerald earlier did. And her name, and this great one name is Miss Sarah Vaughan. One of my heroes too. One of my heroes. Sarah Vaughan. See, I come with y'all with Ella Fitzgerald, then I got Sarah Vaughan. That's right. Sarah Vaughan. Let's get this day going. Let me check the chat and see anybody else come in. So it's all right. We're gonna get it packing right now. Now, Sarah Laws Vaughan. March 27th, 1924, she was born. She passed away April 3rd, 1990. Was an American jazz singer. She had been described by music critics Star Yana as having one of the most wondrous voice of the 20th century. And I have full agreement of that. Like I said, her birthday, Sarah Lois Vaughan. I already said she was born and died. Generous was jazz. She was jazz, vocal jazz, traditional pop, bossa nova. She was a singer, vocal, and a very underrated, excellent pianist too. Very underrated. Years active, 1942 to 1990. Record label, she was on Columbia, Mercury, Verve, Roulette, and Pablo. Why it sounds familiar? Because earlier when I did Ella Fitzgerald, she was on the same record label of Ella Fitzgerald. And that was big. Nicknamed Sassy and the Divine One. Vaughn was a 4-time Grammy winner, including Lifetime Achievement Awards, the National Endowment for the Arts bestowed upon her its highest honor in jazz, the Nia Jazz Master Awards in 1989. Early life. Vaughn's father, Asbury Jake Vaughan, was a carpenter by trade and played guitar and piano. Her mother, Ada Vaughan, was a laundress and sang in the church choir. Jake and Ada Vaughan was migrated to Newark, New Jersey from Virginia during First World War. Sarah was the only biological child, although in the 60s they were adopted Donna, the child of a woman who traveled on the road with Sarah Vaughan. The Vaughan lived in a house on Brunswick Street in Newark for Sarah's entire childhood. Jake Vaughan was deeply religious, and the family was very active in the Mount Zion Baptist Church at 186 Thomas Street. Sarah began piano lessons at the age of 7, sang in the church choir, and occasionally played piano for rehearsal and service. Vaughan developed an early love for popular music on record and the radio. In the 1930s, Newark has a very active live music scene, and Vaughan frequently saw local and touring bands that played in the city and venues like the Montgomery Street skating rink. By her mid-teens, Vaughan began venturing illegally into Newark nightclubs and performed as a pianist and occasional singer at venues, including the Piccadilly Club at the Newark Airport. Vaughan initially attended Newark East Side High School, later transferred to Newark Arts High School. I want to stop right there. There's a show named Like It Is. It was a legendary Like It Is by Gil Noble. He passed away in 2012. He's legendary of New York, especially nationwide. I remember that back in I believe 1990, I believe he interviewed her. I just want to throw that in. The late great Gil Noble, Like It Is. He created that in 1968. All right, I gotta throw that in. Was open. Let me read that again. Initially attended Newark Eastside High School, later transferred to Newark Arts High School, which had opened in 1931 as the United States' first arts magnet high school. However, her nurturing adventure as a performer began to overwhelm her academic pursuits, and Vaughan dropped out of high school during her junior year to concentrate on music. Around that time, Vaughan and her friends began venturing across the Hudson River into New York City. He had big bands at the Apollo Theater in Harlem. 1942 to 1943, early career. Biographies of Vaughan frequently states that she was immensely thrust into stardom after a winning amateur night performance at Harlem Zoo's Theater. In fact, the story seems to be a bit more complex. Vaughan was frequently accompanied by a friend, Doris Robinson, and her trips into New York City. In the fall of 1942, by which she was 18 years old, Vaughn suggests that Robinson enter the Apollo Theater Amateur Night Contest. Vaughn played piano, accompanied for Robinson, who won second prize. Vaughn later to decide to go back and compete as a singer herself. She sang Body and Soul and won, although exact date was victorious performance and uncertain. The prize, as Vaughn recalled later to Marion McPartland, was $10 and a promise of week engagement at the Apollo. On November 20th, 1942, Vaughn returned to Apollo to open Ella Fitzgerald. During her week performance at the Apollo, Vaughn was introduced to bandleader pianist Earl "Fat Duck" Hines. Although the exact details of that introduction are disputed, Billy Escon, also a jazz great, Hines' singer at the time, has been credited by Vaughn and others with hearing her at the Apollo and recommend her to Hines. Hines claimed later had to discover herself and offer her a job on the spot. Regardless, after a brief trial at the Apollo, Hines officially replaced his current female singer with Vaughn on April 4th, 1943. 1943 through 1944, Earl Hines and Billy Eckstine. Vaughn spent the remainder of 1943, part of 1944, touring the country with the Earl Hines Big Band, which features baritone Billy Eckstine. Vaughn was hired as a pianist reluctantly, so Hines could hire her under the jurisdiction of Musicians Union, American Federation of Musicians, parentheses, rather than Singers Union, American Guild of Various Artists, parentheses. And after Cliff Small joining the band as a trombonist and pianist, Sarah's duties was limited exclusively to singing. The Earl Hines Band in this period was remembered as a accompaniment of bebop, as it included trumpet Dizzy Gillespie, another jazz great saxophonist, Charlie Parker. He was like part of developed the sound bebop, played tenor rather than alto, which he remembered. Then the trombonist Benny Green, another great. Gillespie arranged for the band, although the contemporary recording band was Musician Union, means no commercial resistance. Wow. That's, I know it was like a lot of great recordings back then. Esting quit the Hines Band in the late 1943 and formed his own big band with Gillespie leaving Hines to become the new band musical director. Parker joined Esting, and the band would, over the next few years, host a starring cast of jazz talent, including Miles Davis, a great, Big Kenny Dorham, a great, R. Blakey, a great, Lucky Thompson, a great, Gene Arms, a great, and Dexter Gordon, a great, among others. Vaughn accepted Escon's invitation to join his new band in 1944, giving her an opportunity to develop his musicianship with the similar figures in this era of jazz. Estein's band afforded her first recording opportunity, a December 5th, 1944 date that yields the song "I Be Wait and Pray" for the deluxe label. That day, late critic and producer Leonard Feathers to ask her to cut 4 sides under her own name, and later that month for a continental backing by septet that include Dizzy Gillespie and Georgia Alu. Band pianist John Mellencamp credited with giving Vaughn a Monkey Sassy nickname that matched her personality. Vaughn liked it, and the name and its shortened variant, Sassy, stuck with colleagues and eventually the press and written communication. Vaughn often spelled its name Sassy, Sassie. Interesting. Vaughn officially left the Estin
band in late 1944 to pursue a solo career, although she remained very close to Escott personally and recorded with him frequently throughout her life. 1945 to 1948, early solo career Tenderly. Vaughn began her solo career in 1945 freelancing in clubs on New York 52nd Street, such as the Three Deuces, the Famous Doors, the Downbeat, and the Onyx Club. Now I know people say that sounds familiar. There's a New York group named Onyx that's back in the mid '90s. They caused rockers. One underrated to me, one of the underrated rap groups to me. So back then it's called the Onyx Club. Back then, Vaughn hung around the Bronx Grill next to the Apollo Theater in Harlem. On May 11, 1945, Vaughn recorded Love a Man for the Guy label with the quintet. Features Gillespie Parker with Og Haig on pianos, Curly Russell on double bass, and Sid Catlett on drums. Later that month, she went into the studios with a slightly different, larger Gillespie Parker aggression and recorded 3 more sides. After being invited with violinist Stuff Smith to record the song time and again, in October, Vaughn was offered a contract to record the Musicraft label by owner Albert Marks. Although she would not begin to record as a leader for Muscraft until May 7, 1946. In the interview time, Vaughn made a handful of recordings for the Crown and Gotham labels and began performing regularly at the Cafe Society downtown of the Integrated in New York, Sheraton Square. That's where other jazzways played in too. While at the Cafe Society, Vaughn became friends with trumpet George Treadwell. Treadwell became Vaughn's manager, and she ultimately delegated to him most of the musical director responsibility for her recording sections, leaving her free to focus almost entirely on singing. Over the next few years, Treadwell made changes in Vaughn's stage appearance. Aside from a new wardrobe and hairstyle, Vaughn had kept eliminate a gap between her 2 front teeth. Many of Vaughn's 1946 Musicraft recordings became quite well known among jazz aficionados and critics, including "If You Could See Me Now," written and arranged by Tad Dameron. "Don't Blame Me, I Got a Crush on You. Everything I Have Is Yours," and "Body and Soul," with Vaughn and 12 professional relationship on solid footing. The couple married on September 16, 1946. Vaughn recorded success from Musicraft continued through 1947 and 1948. Her recording Tenderly, she was proud to be the first to have recorded that jazz standard. Became unexpected pop hit in the late 1947. Her December 27, 1947, recording of this Magic from the Doris Day film Romance on the High Seas. Now people now the old time, I don't know y'all know this or not. Now Doris Day, she was a white lady, but later on, I believe like 18, 19 years after that, Doris Day ended up having her own show. That's back in the 60s and going to 70s. So I remember I used to watch them when I was little, a little bit. Okay. Well, film Romance on the High Seas found chart in early 1948. Her recording Nature Boy from April 8th, 1948 became a hit around the time better known as Nat King Cole version released because a second recording band imposed by musician union Nature Boy was recorded by a cappella choir as only a accompaniment, added and Eat the Air to a song of vaguely mysterious lyrics and melodies. 1948 through 1953 stardom and the colonial years. The Musicians Union Band pushed Musicraft to the brink of bankruptcy, and Vaughn used the missed royalty payments as an opportunity to sign with larger Columbia record labels. Following the settings of the legal issues, her chart success continued the charting of Black Coffee in the summer of 1949. Through her tenure of Columbia through 1953, Vaughn was still almost exclusively commercial pop ballads, number of which has chart success. That Lucky Old Son, Make Believe You Are Glad When You Sorry, I'm Crazy to Love You, Our Very Own, I Love That Guy, Thinking of You with pianist Bill Powell, I Cry for You, These Things I Offer You, Vanity, I remember that one. I Ran All the Way Home, Saint or Sinner, I remember that one. My Tormented Heart, I remember that one. And Time, among others, I remember that one too. Vaughn achieved substantial critical acclaim. She won Esquire magazine New York's New Star Award in 1947, as well as awards from Downbeat magazine continually from 1947 through 1952, and Metronomy magazine from 1948 through 1953. And handcuffed critics disliked her singing of being over-styled, reflecting the heated controversies of the time over new musicians trend of the late 40s. However, the critic reception of the young singer was generally positive, and they was hating back then. Yep, people did hate right now. They hating back then. They never liked us as the people be innovators. Wow. Recording and critical success led to numerous performance opportunities, with Vaughn packing clubs around the country almost continually throughout the years in the late 1940s and early 1950s. In the summer of 1949, Vaughn made her first appearance of a symphony orchestra in a benefit for the Philadelphia Orchestra entitled "A Hundred Man and a Girl." Around that time, Chicago disc jockey Dave Galloway coined the second nickname for her, the Divine One. That's what live followed her throughout her career. One of her early television appearances was on Dumont variety show Stars on Parade 1954 and 1953 to 54, which she sang My Funny Valentine and Linger a While. I love when she said My Funny Valentine. Yes, I did. In 1949, with her finance improving, Vaughn and Trevor purchased a 3-story house on 21 Avon Avenue in Newark, accompanied by the top floor doing a increasing rate of hours at home and relocating Vaughn parents to the lower 2 floors. However, the business pressure and personal conflict led to a cooling Treadwell and Vaughn relationship, hired a road manager to handle Vaughn touring needs, and open management office in Manhattan so he could work with clients in addition to Vaughn. Vaughn's relationship with Columbia Records also soured as she became dissatisfied with the commercial material which she was required to record and the lackluster finance success of her records. The set of small group side recorded in 1950 with Miles Davis and Bernie Green among the best of her career. But they were apical of her Columbia output, it figures. Radio. In 1949, Vaughn had a radio program song by Sarah Vaughan on WMGM in New York City. Yeah, that on radio, so they play a lot of jazz, and some R&B too. The 15-minute show was broadcast in the evening, Wednesdays through Sundays for the Click Club. Describes renaissance of the bebop crowd. She was backed by Oscar Preford bass, Kenny Clark drums, and George Snaring piano. 1954 through 1955, Mercury years. In 1953, Treadwell negotiated a unique contract with Vaughn with Mercury Records. She would record commercial material for the Mercury label and more jazz-oriented material for his subsidiary, M-Arky. Vaughn was paired with producer Bob Shad, and their excellent work relationship yielded strong commercial and artist success. Her debut Mercury record sessions took place February 1954 as she stayed with the label through 1959 as a stint at Roulette Records. 1960 to 1963, Vaughn returned from Mercury from 1964 to 1967. Vaughn commercial success at Mercury began with the 1954 hit Make Yourselves Comfortable, recorded in the fall of 1954, and continued with successions of hits including How Important Can It Be with Count Basie. Later on, he formed his own band and he made history, another jazz great. Wherever Lola Wants, the Banana Boat songs, You Ought to Have a Wife, and Misty. Her commercial success peaked as 1959 with A Broken Heart Melody, a song she considered to be corny, but nonetheless it became her first gold record and regularly part of her concert repertoire for years to come. Vaughn was reunited with Billy Eckstine for a series of duets recordings in 1957 that yielded the hit Passing Strangers. Vaughn commercially recorded were handled by a number of different arrangers and conductors, primarily Hugo Perty and Hal Mooney. The jazz track of her recording career preceding S-Space, backed either by her working trio or various combinations with stellar jazz players. One of her favorite albums was in 1954 Sets That Date that includes Clifford Brown, another jazz great. I believe he played saxophone or horn. I can't recount that. But in the latter years of the 1950s, she followed a scheduled, almost non-stop tour with many famous jazz musicians. She was featured at the first Newport Jazz Festival in the summer of 1954 that stars subsequently editions that festival in Newport and in New York City. I think the New York Jazz Festival, I think that's up in Massachusetts, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm not mistaken, but y'all check it out yourself. But I believe it's up in the New England area of the eastern parts of the United States, like Massachusetts, Connecticut, around there. Okay. Summer of 54 star and subsequently editions that festival in New York. Editions that festival Newport News in New York City for the remainder of her life. In the fall of 1954, she performed at Carnegie Hall, that's in New York City, with the Count Basie Orchestra on the bill that also includes Billy. This heavy hit. This is jazz legends, family. Billie Holiday, Charlie Parker, Lester Young, and the Modern Jazz Quartet. They also was great. That fall, she again toured Europe successfully before embarking on a big show U.S. tour. A grueling successor of starting stud one-nighters include Count Basie, George Shearing, Errol Garner, and Jimmy Rushing at the 1955 New York Jazz Festivals on Randall's Island. That's in New York too. That's right off the Bronx and Wars Island. Vaughn shared the bill with Dave Brubeck Quartet, Horace Silver, a jazz great, Jimmy Swift, a jazz great, and the Johnny Richards Orchestra, very underrated. Although the professional relationship between Vaughn and Treadwell was quite successful in the 1950s, their personal relationship finally reached its breaking point, and she filed for divorce in 1958. Man, that's sad. Vaughn had entire delegate finance matters to Treadwell, and despite significant income figured out throughout the 1950s, at the settlement, Treadwell said that only $16,000 remained. The couple evenly divided amount their personal assets, terminating their business relationship. 1959 to 69, C.B. Atkins, and the roulette years. The exit of Treadwell from Vaughn's life was participated by the entire of Clyde C.B. Atkins, a man of uncertain background, who she had met in Chicago and married September 4th, 1959. All right, Sarah, you throw that garbage away and got you a new one. I ain't mad at you. I ain't mad at you. Although Atkins had no experience in artist management or music, Vaughn wished to have a mixed professional and personal relationship like the one she had with Treadwell. She made Atkins her personal manager, although she was feeling the sting of the problems that she had with Treadwell and initially kept a slight close eye on Atkins. Vaughn and Atkins moved into the house in Englewood, New Jersey. When Vaughn's contract with Mercury ended in the late 1959, she immediately signed with Roulette Records, a small label owned by Morris Levy, who wanted the backends of New York Birdland. Now people will say it was a Birdland that was named after Charlie Parker, because he was a big fan of Charlie Parker, the late great Charlie Parker, that helped develop bebop or jazz. I throw that in. Where she frequently appeared. Roulette roster also includes Cal Basie, Joe Williams, Diana Washington, Lambert Hendricks, and Ross and Marilyn Maynard Ferguson. Vaughn began recording for Roulette Records in April of 1960, making a string of strong large example albums arranged and or conducted by Billy May, Jimmy Jones, Charles Wiseman, Quincy Jones. That's right, the one and only Quincy Jones. Benny Carter, Lalo Chuffin, and Gerald Wilson. Now I'm gonna go back to this quick. Quincy Jones. A lot of people think that Quincy Jones, when he started doing his thing with the Brother Johnsons and stuff, like no, he been out even before the almost 30 years prior to that. He started up with jazz and he made like countless jazz albums, and plus he arranged and conducted many big bands back in the 50s. And also he did Ironside. He did a legendary TV show named Ironside. If nobody remember that Ironside, he did that. He's the first one that had played synthesizers on Ironside. That's back in 64, I mean. So he's one of the innovators too. So I gotta throw that in. Benny Carter, Laffer Seaman, and Gerald Wilson. She had some pop chart success in 1960 and Serenade and Roulette and a couple of residual tracks from her Mercury contract, Eternally and You My Baby. She made a pair of intimate vocal, guitar, double bass albums of jazz standards After Hours 1961 with guitarist Mondale Love and double bass George Duvar and Sarah Plus Two in 1962 with guitars Barney Casa and double bass and Joe Comfort. In 1961, Vaughn and Atkins adopted a daughter, Deborah Lawrence Atkins, though professing as para-Atkins. However, the relationship with Atkins proved difficulty and violent. And so following the series of incidents, she filed for divorce in November of 1963. She turned to two friends to help sort out the financial affairs of the marriage club owner, John Preacher Wells, a childhood acquaintance, and Clyde Pumpkin Golden Jr. Wells and Golden found that Atkins gambling and profane spending had Vaughn around $150,000 in debt. Damn. The Inglewood house was ultimately seized by the IRS for non-payment of taxes. Vaughn retained custody of their child, and Golden essentially took Atkins' place as Vaughn manager and lowered the remainder of the decade. Around the time of her second divorce, She became disenchanted with roulette records, finding it even more deceptive and opulent than usual in the record business. And its recording artists often had little show of their efforts other than some excellent records. When her contract with Roulette Records ended in 1963, Vaughn returned to more familiar confined with Mercury Records in the summer of 1963. She went to Denmark with producer Quincy Jones to record 4 days and live performance. Her trio, Sassy Swings, a Trivoli, an excellent example of her live show from this period. The following year, she made her first appearance on the White House for President Johnson. The Trivoli recording would be the brightest moment of her second stint with Mercury, changing demographics with taste in her 1960 left jab artist with shrinking audience and inappropriate material, while Vaughn retained a following large and loyal enough to maintain her performing career. The quality and quantity of her recorded outputs dwindling even as her voice darkened, as her skill remains undiminished. At the conclusion of her Mercury deal in 1967, she left without a recording contract for the remainder of the decade. Wow. In 1969, Vaughn terminated her professional relationship with Golden and relocated to West Coast, settling first into her house nearby Bentley Canyon, Los Angeles, then into what ended up being her final home in Hidden Hills. 1970 through 82 rebirth. Vaughn met Marshall Fisher after 1970 performance at Casino, and Fisher soon fell into a familiar dual role as Vaughn lover and manager. Wow. Man, do you? It's 2 times. Well, let's find out. Fisher was another man of uncertain background with no musical or entertainment business experience, but unlike of some earlier associates, he was a genuine fan devoted to further her career. The 1970 heralded a rebirth of Vaughn recording activity. In 1971, Bob Shea, who had worked as a producer at Mercury Records, asked her to record for his new record label, Mainstream Records. Basie veteran Ernie Wilkins arranged and conducted her first mainstream album, A Time in My Life, in November 1971. In 1972, Vaughn recorded a collection of ballads written and arranged, conducted by Mike Landgraf, arranged Landgraf, Peter Matt, Jack Elliott, and Alan Ferguson team up for Vaughn's third mainstream album, Feeling Good. Vaughn recorded live in Japan a live album in Tokyo with her trio in September 1973. Through her sections with LeGrand, Bosley presented Sent to the Clouds, a Stephen Sondheim song from the Broadway musical A Little Night Music. To Vaughn for consideration, the song became her signature, replacing the Chestnut Tenderly that had been her from the beginning of her solo career. Unfortunately, Vaughn's relationship with mainstream soured in 1974, allegedly in a conflict participated by Fisher over an album cover phonographic and or underpaid royalties. This left Vaughn without a recording contract for 3 years. In December 1974, Vaughn played a private concert in the United States President Gerald Ford and French President Giscard d'Estaing during the summer of Martinique in 1974, conducted by Michael Tilson Thomas, asked Vaughn to participate in all Gershwin show, which he planned for guest appearance with the Los Angeles Philharmonic at the Hollywood Bowl. The arrangements were by Marty Patch. On the orchestrated would be ultimately by established jazz artist Dave Gushing. On piano, Ray Brown. On double bass, drummer Stanley Manning, and saxophonists Bill Perkins and Phil President. The concert was a success, and Thomas and Vaughn repeatedly performed with Thomas Home Orchestra in Buffalo, New York, followed the appearance in 75 and 1975 and 1976. Others Symphony orchestras in the United States. These performances fulfilled with long-held interest by Vaughn work with orchestras, and she made performances without Thomas for the remainder of the decade. In 1977, Tom got a young filmmaker and public TV producer, followed Vaughn around on tour, interviewing enormous artists, speaking about her capturing both concerts and behind-the-scenes footage. The result, 16 hours of footage, was pared down into an hour-and-a-half document. Listen to the Sun that airs on September 21st, 1978 on the New Jersey Public Television, but was never commercially released. Very interesting. In 1977, Norman Gans, who was also Ella Fitzgerald's manager, signed Vaughn to his Pablo Records. Vaughn has not recorded a contract for 3 years, although she had recorded a 1977 album of Beatles songs with contemporary pop arrangement for Atlantic Records, but eventually released in 1981. Vaughn first Pablo released I Love Brazil, recorded an all-star Brazilian music Argenero in the fall of 1977. It generated Grammy Award nominations. Yes. 1977 saw the release of Garlic and Cream album's Consequences, which played Vaughn sang Lost Weekend on one of the few tracks to achieve popular outside the album. The Pablo contract results of 7 total albums, a second, an equal work wonders Brazilian record, Casablanca 1979, again recorded in Rajanero, How Long Has Been Going On, 1978, with a quintet consists of Oscar Peterson, guitar, Joe Pass. Their names on Joe Pass. He also played Ella Fitzgerald. Bass and Ron Brown and drummer Louis Brisson. 2 Duke Ellington songbooks. Now people say, who Duke Ellington? Duke Ellington was one of the best American songwriters. He composed way over 2,000 composers in his career. One of the best composers of popular music, especially in jazz. Okay, 2 Duke Ellington songbooks albums. 1979, Sent in the Clowns, 1981, with the Count Basie Orchestra playing arrangement primarily by Sammy Nestino and Crazy and Mix-Up. In 1982, another quartet features Sir Roland Hanna, piano, Joe Pass guitar, and Andy Simpkins, bass, and Harold Jones drums. 1982 through 1989, late career. Vaughn remained active as a performer during the 1980s and began receiving awards for her contributions to American music and status as an elder statesman of jazz. In the summer of 1980, Vaughn received a plaque on 57th Street outside the CBS building, Black Rock, commentating the jazz clubs when she had once frequently on Swing Street, which had long since been replaced with office buildings. A performance of her symbolic Gershwin program with the New Jersey Symphony in 1980 was broadcast on PBS and won an Emmy Award the next year for Individual Achievement Special Class. She was reunited in 1982 with Tilson Thomas for a modified version of Gershwin program, play again in the Los Angeles Philharmonic, but this time its home holds the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion. The CBS recorded the concert Gershwin Lives, won a Grammy for Best Jazz Vocal Performer Female,
and has become something of the classic itself. In 1985, Vaughn received a Star of Walk of Fame, and in 1988, she was inducted of American Jazz Hall of Fame. Following the end of her contract probably in 1982, Vaughn only committed herself to limit a number of studio recordings. She made a guest appearance in 1984 on Barry Manilow's 2 a.m. Paradise Cafe, an album of original Apache composed that features a number of established jazz artists. In 1984, Vaughn participated in one of the more usual projects in her career, The Planet Is Alive, Let's Get Live, in the Somalic piece composed by Tito Fonte and Santi Palamu, on Italian translation with Polish poems by Karol Wojtyła by the better known as John Paul II. The recording was made in Germany with an English translator, was written Gene Lee, and was released by Lee on his own private label. After the recording was turned down by major labels, in 1986, Vaughn sang 2 songs, Happy Talk and Balaa, the role of Bloody Mary, on the otherwise stiff studio recorded by opera song Kerry T. Kawana and Jose Carrera, and the score of Broadway musician South Pacific while sitting on the studio floor. Vaughn's final complete album was Brazilian Romance, produced and composed by Sergio Menendez. And now, why that name is familiar, he made Sergio Menendez 1966. That he's very underrated. He was in jazz, like they consider Brazilian. They call that Brazilian jazz. Yeah, and recorded primarily in the early part of 1987 in New York and Detroit. In 1988, Vaughn contributed vocals to an album, Christmas Carols, recorded by the Mormon Tabernacle Church at the Utah Symphony Orchestra, was sold in Hallmark card stores. In 1989, Quincy Jones' Back on the Block features Vaughn on a brief scatting duet with Ella Fitzgerald, 2 greats. This was Vaughn's final studio recording, and fitting, it was Vaughn's only formal studio recording with Fitzgerald in a career that had begun 46 years, opening for Fitzgerald at the Apollo. Vaughn is featured a number of video recorded from the 80s. Sarah Vaughan live at Monterey was taped in 1980-84 and featured her work with guest socialists. Monterey, that's in Canada. Sass and Brass was taped in 1986 in New Orleans. Also featured work trio with guest soloists including Dizzy Gillespie. Now, Dizzy Gillespie is another great. He played trumpet in Stevie Wonder. Do I Do? Said, Mr. Gillespie, go on. That's him. Dizzy Gillespie played. I forgot the LP was Stevie Wonder, but Dizzy Gillespie. Throw that in. Marilyn Ferguson, Sarah Vaughan. The Divine was featured the American Masters series of PBS. Also, in 1986, on the Independence Day, a program nationally televised on PBS, she performed with the National Symphony Orchestra conducted by Meshala Woposovich in a medley of songs composed by George Gershwin. She was given the George and Ira Gershwin Award for Lifetime Musical Achievement, UCLA Spring Singing. In 1989, Vaughn health began to decline. Although she rarely revealed hints of her performance, she canceled a serious engagement in Europe in 1989, citing she needed to seek treatment for arthritis in her hand. Although she was able to complete later series performance in Japan, during the run of New York Blue Note Jazz in 1989. Vaughn received a diagnosis of lung cancer. Oh, wow. And he was too ill to finish the final day of what would turn out to be her final series of her performance. Vaughn returned home in California to begin chemotherapy and spent her final months alternately stayed in the hospital and home. Vaughn grew weary in the struggles and demanded to be taken home. While she died in the evening, April 3rd, 1990, while watching a television movie feature her daughter a week after her 66th birthday. That was young. Vaughn's funeral held the new location of Mount Zion Baptist Church at 208 Broadway in Newark, New Jersey, with the same congregation she grew up in. Followed the ceremony with a horse-drawn carriage transport her body in its final resting place in Glen Cemetery in Bloomfield, New Jersey. I'm going to go through the awards nomination. I'm going to wrap it up, and I'm going to wrap this up. In 2004-2006, New Jersey Transit paid tribute to Miss Vaughn of the design of its new York lights. Stations, passengers stopped by any station of this line read the lyrics of her singing song, "Send It to the Clowns," alongside the edge of a station platform. On March 23rd, 2003, enacted by Susan M. Butler, the sites of San Francisco Berkeley Conference signed as proclamation of making March 27th Sarah Lawrence Vaughan Day in the respective cities. In 2012, Vaughan was inducted of the New Jersey Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame, Grammy Hall of Fame. Recorder Sarah Vaughan was inducted into Grammy Hall of Fame, which is a special Grammy award established in 1983 to honor recorders at least 25 years old. And that's it. So it goes to show, family, of her time, she did her thing. She really did. And we can, nobody cannot take that. She died young too. She really did. She died young. And but she left a lot of archives on everything. Sheep stay asleep. Thanks for coming, my brother. I appreciate that. Like she said, share this show, please. Sheenan, my sister, always a blessing. Thank you so much. I appreciate you too. But it goes to show, family, that our women was doing a thing. Now I talk about Ella Fitzgerald. Now I'm talking about Sarah Vaughan. Sarah Vaughan did a lot. Despite, she had setbacks of her relationship. But she kept on pushing. And then it was so funny that while she was out of contract a amount of years, but as you know, she always rise to the occasion. That means something to me. And it should mean a lot to the people in the chat too, and the one who's listening from outside. Sarah Vaughan is a legend. She's a legend of popular music. We gotta stop saying, "Oh, these people love the jazz." Jazz is part of popular music, and a lot of people had redone her songs. So I appreciate your fam again. Thanks for Sheep Stay Sleep. Always a pleasure, my brother. My all-round brother, my sister Sheena. And I might come with another one later on. Stay tuned. She Stay Sleep is gonna come with another one.
And most likely after he finishes, if I feel up to it, you know, I'm like little, I don't really feel good that much, but I'm trying to get better. Most likely after he do the next one, I'm gonna hit you with another one. All right. So again, thanks for joining, and I appreciate y'all. And all I can say, stay tuned, and I am Ghost.